Welcome to our thriving 6.5-year-old temperate climate food forest in the south of England at the peak of berry picking season. Our food forest space is approximately 20 by 30 metres and is home to around 150 different edible fruits, flowers, herbs and perennial vegetables. In this midsummer tour, we'll share planting combinations, harvest highlights and ideas that we hope will inspire your own forest gardens. Our food forest is just about hitting its peak harvest time for berries and currants. And later on today we're going to be doing a big harvest in here. So I thought it would be a great chance to do an update tour in here so that you guys can see what it is looking like in mid-summer. So you can see in front of me here we have this Hinamaki red gooseberry and it is ready for a big harvest. We've got these lovely dark fruits on it here and this has got to be our favourite gooseberry. It's just a little bit sweeter than the green ones we find and I just love the colour. It makes it easier to see for harvesting. Possibly a little bit more susceptible to the birds coming in and stealing the fruits. But yeah, we absolutely love this. Hinamaki red gooseberry is our favourite. As you can see here, this apple tree, this is an Irish peach and it has dropped quite a few apples recently, but it is still looking like it's going to be a pretty good year for this tree. I mean, just look at the weight of the branches being pulled down by all the fruits. Absolutely amazing. Underneath it and right next door, we've got two of our pretty productive blackcurrant bushes. And again, I think I'm going to have to give these a really good prune this year because all of the branches are just completely tipped up with the weight of the fruit. So we're going to be getting in and harvesting, yeah, the gooseberries and the blackcurrants today. And the gooseberries I tend to prefer just eating fresh. I may try making some kind of gooseberry compote with them this time to stir through cakes and breakfasts. But yeah, I tend to just pick up the gooseberries and blackcurrants. My favourite thing is to make blackcurrant cordial. Again, also I'm thinking I might try a compote this year. I do sometimes make jams as well, but we don't actually use a whole lot of jam. And if I make a compote, I can freeze that into smaller containers and then just get it out through the year and use it for breakfasts again. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking, perhaps this time with some blackcurrants. We've got red currants here, just about ripening off. And red currants, we kind of tend to leave these for the birds. I'm yet to find a red currant that I actually really like the taste of. We've got about 3 or 4 different varieties in here and they look absolutely lovely. But I always find the taste is really quite dry on the mouth, even when I think I found a really ripe one. But yeah, we are happy to have these in here to maybe detract the birds from some of our other fruits. And speaking of birds and squirrels, as you can see, we've got some of our gooseberries netted here. We've got 3 bushes here with nets on. We've got another one there that isn't netted, and another one here just behind the camera. And I have actually picked most of the ones from the one just behind the camera. That was a green gooseberry. But yeah, this is the reality of self-sufficiency. If we do not net some of our fruit bushes, they will get completely stripped by nature, mainly birds and squirrels. And this happened in our strawberry patch just up in our main growing bed. We've had an amazing year for strawberries this year and it would have kept going for probably about another 2 weeks. But even though we had our main strawberry bed netted, the squirrels eventually, once they had stripped all of the strawberries in the food forest, decided they would actually chew through the really good bird netting that we had on, and they finished off the last of our strawberries. So yeah, the reality is we haven't had a single strawberry from our food forest this year. So yeah, nets are essential if you are growing food to feed yourself, because unfortunately nature does not understand the permaculture principle of fair share. They will take everything they need. But what I am noticing this year, because we've got a lot of fruits ready all at once, no one thing that is uncovered seems to be getting stripped. So I'll talk about the raspberries in a minute, and I think the birds are really happily tucking into the raspberries and leaving the blackcurrants alone, so that is really good. Here you can see this beautifully laden cherry plum tree, and again this year it just seems to be the theme. All of the branches of so many of our trees and bushes are just heavy under the weight of fruit, and it is absolutely delightful to see this. And this will probably be our first really big year of harvesting cherry plums, and I'm really looking forward to it. This tree is a yellow cherry plum, I believe. We've got a yellow one, and then a darker, a sort of purpley red one over the other side of the food forest. And yeah, if we come up here now to our raspberries, you'll be able to see, we'll go around the other side in a minute so you can get a better view, but these are actually autumn raspberries here. And you can see all these new shoots coming through. These will actually be the canes that bear the autumn fruits. But because we didn't cut our raspberries back last year, like you often hear is done with autumn raspberries, we get an extra crop. We get a full summer crop from our autumn raspberries as well. And if Dan comes round here a bit more, you can start to see all of the fruits on last year's canes. And we normally do cut our autumn raspberries back every other year, and often I find when we do that we get a much stronger harvest the following autumn. But interestingly, last year when we'd cut the raspberries back in the winter, last year the growth on the raspberries wasn't very strong, and we didn't have a very good autumn harvest. But as you can see now, we are getting an absolutely amazing summer harvest, and hopefully we'll also get a good autumn harvest as well. If you come around this side and have a look across the top of this raspberry patch, you'll be able to see that there is a lot of raspberries ready to be harvested and also coming on in the next few weeks. And so yeah, today we're going to do another really big pick of raspberries as well, and I'll probably freeze a lot of those whole. I use them in different things throughout the year. One of my favourite ways to use our frozen raspberries all year round is in our kombucha, which I brew every week. Another thing I'm going to be harvesting later on today is some of this amazingly beautiful St. John's wort. And it's a really good time to be harvesting medicinal herbs like this now, when the sunlight hours have been at their maximum. It's often said that the plants are at their peak too, because they've been harvesting all the best of the long sunlight hours. And I'm going to make some tincture with this. Again, I like to use St. John's wort throughout the winter. It's known as the sunshine herb. You can see why, but it also helps us to bring the sunshine back into our life in the depths of winter. So yeah, absolutely love that. And I've still got a lot of St. John's wort that I dried last year to use in tea as well. There's another little patch here. And the roses have been absolutely stunning in the food forest throughout the spring and just into the early summer, but they're just about finishing their first flush now. and I've been harvesting and drying so many rose petals, which I'm using in tea with a mixture of rose petals, and then I put cacao nibs in. That is my absolute favourite tea at the moment. But yeah, hopefully later on in the year they will do another flush. And I have been cutting these ones off, obviously, to harvest the petals. But with the next flush of roses, I'll leave them on so that hopefully they turn to hips, and then I'll harvest the hips for use in other ways later on in the year. Now this bed here I wanted to talk about, and I was sat in the food forest the other day just looking over this bed, and I realised that just in this small patch alone, not including the trees, we have approximately 20 perennial plants. Now I'll see how many of these I can share now, but maybe I'll see about putting a list on the screen as well. But just in this area, we've got echinacea, we've got a rose, we've got rosemary, we've got salad burnet, we've got strawberries, we've got mashua growing up this teepee here, there's curry plant and lavender. All around me here we've got some globe artichokes, which I just grew from seed and planted this year, so they're just getting established. What else have we got in here? I've lost count, so hopefully you guys are keeping track. We've got asparagus, we've got a gooseberry bush, we've got heart's ease, which is almost finished for the season. This little one here under the tree has still got a few little flowers on. We've got bilberries, which were a new addition to the food forest this year, so they're just getting established. We'll see how they go. And then we've also got mountain cranberries, and this little one here is actually really covered in fruits, so I'm looking forward to finding a ripe one of those maybe later on and getting our first taste of those. I've got Welsh onions down here as well. We've got perennial kale, we've got comfrey, and then we've also got New Zealand spinach. And whilst I don't actually class that as a perennial, which I know some seed sellers do advertise it as perennial, I don't find it comes back like from the root, but it does self-seed very readily. So I planted that once about 3 years ago in this area, maybe 2 years ago, and yeah, it comes back on its own. There's another patch over there. So yeah, I think that must be pretty near our 20 plants. If there's any that I've missed that I notice, I'll pop them on the screen. But yeah, so just a great example of how many perennials you can actually grow in quite a small area. I've just spotted another one. We've got yarrow down there as well that obviously has benefits for the insects and wildlife, but it can also be used and harvested medicinally. You may have heard me talk about yarrow before. We do have to keep it under control here because it has completely taken over this area in the past. But yeah, I'm happy to keep just a little bit of it. So moving on to some of our trees, our apricot tree is still looking really good. It has dropped, I don't know, maybe close to 50% of the fruit it had in early spring, but it was completely laden with fruit. And I think we are still going to get a really good harvest from this tree. It's got some beautiful big clusters of apricots still. And what I'm really happy to see is that all the fruit is looking really good. Last year we had quite a lot of splitting on the fruits, but I haven't seen any of that this year, so I'm really looking forward to this harvest. They came quite late last year, I think towards the end of August, so yeah, we'll keep watching that one and see how it goes. This is the other cherry plum that I mentioned earlier. This is the one that has the darker sort of reddy purple fruits on it. There is going to be a lot of cherry plums to be enjoyed from our food forest, I think, this year. We've got a little triangle of plum trees here, and most of our plum trees are slightly younger than the bigger trees you can see in the food forest. And one thing I do notice is that our plum trees seem to be quite slow growing. This tree hasn't put on that much size over the last 3 years, but it does still seem to want to fruit fairly prolifically. And I'm never quite sure whether I should just let nature run its course and let it do what it wants to do, or whether perhaps we should thin the fruits and let the tree put on a bit more size. But yeah, it didn't actually have as many fruits last year, so it had a bit of an off year, and I do find that with a lot of the trees in our food forest. The pear tree that we have, the family pear tree, which I'll show you in just a second, that one seems to be sort of biannual. We get every other year is a good fruiting year. It should be a good year this year. Whereas last year, this apple tree was absolutely covered in apples. But this year, it's still got a good few clusters on it. There's some really good branches up here, but it's not as covered as it was last year. So yeah, over here we've got our apple tree, and this is, yeah, a family tree, so it's got 3 different varieties of pear on it. And we are looking like we're going to get quite a nice harvest of pears from, again, what is a reasonably small tree. And down here we've got one more apple tree, which I really have to show you as well. And it is another one with branches completely weighed down by its fruits. And this apple tree was actually prolific last year as well, so I'm really surprised to see how much fruit it's got on it again this year. Happily surprised. I'm definitely not complaining, and like that there is a really good sized apple coming on already, so hopefully it will hold on to its fruits. We've got oregano here, which is just about to burst into flower, which I absolutely love to see. The insects love it. And we've already done quite a few harvests, which I've dried, so we've got some good jars of oregano to use later in the year. So berries that will come on later in the season after the gooseberries and blackcurrants, we've got aronia berries here, and actually there are just the odd berry which is darkening up here. You can see there in that little cluster. We've got 2 trees or 2 bushes of aronia, but they look more like trees. We probably should give them a bit of a prune actually this year. If any of you guys have got any advice on pruning, or what size is good to keep aronia berries, or when to do it, then please let us know, because this is quite a new one that we're still learning about. But yeah, they are going to turn into trees, I think, if we let them get much bigger. We've got another blackcurrant bush over here, which I need to get in and harvest from. This apple tree tends to be one that doesn't fruit as much. I think this one is Cox Orange, and what I've read about this variety is it's a little bit fussier for the growing conditions, but actually this tree has got a really good amount of apples on it this year. And just under the tree here, I've got a couple of mushroom logs which were gifted to us from our lovely friends Ruth and John. And these are inoculated with shiitake mushrooms. And John literally only gave us those 2 weeks ago. And we've actually had a couple of mushrooms pop up on there already, which is really exciting. And I think we have also had some wine cap mushrooms. I inoculated a couple of beds, was it last year or the year before? And we had a few harvests, but then I saw some in the grass just below where I'd inoculated a bed a few weeks ago. But I'm still a little bit skeptical because my mushroom knowledge isn't great. It's an area that I need to do a lot more learning on in the future. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we've had wine cap mushrooms, but me and Dan aren't very brave when it comes to mushroom identification, so we haven't actually eaten those, but I'm hoping some more will pop up and I'll have a good look into whether they are actually wine caps. Another thing that I think we're going to be getting a harvest of fruit from later on in the year is our figs. And we have got some really good sized figs forming up on these trees, which again is really nice to see because they have taken quite a few years to establish. We had a couple of fruits last year, which I think was for the first time, but now it is looking like they might be coming into their time. So we've got three or four figs through here, Dan. Definitely three, maybe four. And yeah, all of them have got a similar amount of fruit on. So coming up through here, we've just got a mixture of herbs and flowers. This is rua. We've got a schizandra vine growing under this tree, which I'm eventually hoping I can train up this cherry tree. And we've got two schizandra vines in the food forest. And this one is in a bit more shade, and it is definitely happier in the shade. Speaking of the cherry trees though, we've got two cherry trees. They had quite a lot of fruit on them in the spring, but we have not had a single ripe cherry. They are always taken by the birds or squirrels or whatever it is that gets there first before us. And it's a hard one. I absolutely love the shape and the size of the cherry tree and the blossom in spring. But in terms of productivity for our food forests, unfortunately, they are not offering a lot to us. Yeah, the wildlife are loving them. So me and Dan always have this kind of conversation. He thinks that perhaps we should remove them and put something more productive in. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that because I still love them. Underneath this cherry tree here, we've got one of our blueberry bushes, and we will be putting nets on the blueberry bushes really soon. As you can see, there is a beautiful amount of fruit forming up here. We've got another couple of blueberries over here. You've probably heard me talk about this one before. If you've watched some of our other videos, Chandler is our favourite variety. And the reason for that is the flavour is really good and it has really good sized berries on it. So when it comes to harvesting and using the berries, it just seems so much more time efficient to have a bigger fruit. Now, this isn't its most productive year, I would say. It's been covered for the last couple of years. But yeah, I think it's having a little bit of a rest, but we're still going to have some good harvests. So we'll be getting nets on that bush really soon. This one here next door, you can see we've actually already put a net on just because we had one spare. But the fruits on this one are a lot smaller. And so, yeah, when it comes to harvesting, it just takes so much longer to get a good volume of fruits. So yeah, that is an update from our food forest in mid-summer. I really hope you've enjoyed having a look around. Let us know what's doing well in your gardens and food forests as well. We love hearing from you guys. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you click the thumbs up button just down below. Drop us any comments or questions that you have. We look forward to seeing you here again soon and seeing you in the comments as well. Thanks for watching. Peace and plants.